Some thoughts on being an artist by Peter Clossick, born 1948. What are artists seeking? What am I seeking? Is it adulation? Are we merely sycophants of wealthy galleries and individuals? Or is it a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us? I do not work behind the picture plane, but on its surface. I exist in an infinite state of non-existence. In painting, form is based on the principle of distinction. It is this, not that, not like this, but like that. All differences ultimately reduced to presence, essential for truly understanding the experience and feeling the emotion. Phenomenology is not concerned with the objective nature of the world, but rather with the meaning we assign to the objects and people we encounter. It explores what our beliefs about them signify, which can be described as a pre-reflective involvement. Truth is an objective uncertainty, while seeing becomes a search for meaning. Conveying an idea clearly can be challenging. Being incomprehensible often serves as a protective barrier against having nothing substantial to say. There are countless art practices, including medium-specific modernism, interdisciplinary postmodernism, historical avant-garde, and neo-avant-garde. All of these approaches can feel exhausted. Today, art often functions as the icing on the capitalist cake in the 21st century. The equation becomes art equals money. We are isolated in industrialized and post-industrial cities where experts segregate and control individual disciplines. Life demands that we live in connection with everything. In today's world of technological overload, we grapple with the lack of control and the sense of helplessness, becoming something less than fully human. We are often not permitted to express our opinions freely. Progress now requires erasing our written history, which is then rewritten to reflect others. However, change is the only changeless thing in life, and we are all adaptable as humans. Exhibiting is stressful for artists, with the costs, time, and effort involved, even if they are not selling anything. The only tangible outcome is something to add to their CV. There are too many artists and too few crumbs on the table to feed them. Individual artists are in direct competition in the marketplace, making them easy targets for others to pick off. What is the role of artists in today's society? What makes me disillusioned with today's art world? My answer to overcome that question lies within myself. I do not want to create for the market, but in my small way, I want to extend the creative line going back to the Neolithic age. This thought is what keeps me happy and out of bed in the morning, not struggling to make a name for myself within the marketplace, which can lead to depression. As children, we are all born creative until society knocks it out. The lucky artist can continue to play and discover. Art will enrich life as long as human life exists.
Thank you, Peter. It's quite a statement. And I identify with it. I mean, we live in different parts of the world,
Yeah.
obviously. We are from different generations, but we're living a sort of like a same scene, art scene, which, as you mentioned, is based upon abuse and adulation, competition, and money.
Yes.
Where's the art? What happened to art?
I don't know. I mean, when when you think that you can have a banana taped to the wall and fetch in $6 million, it's, I mean, it's, it is pretty ludicrous, really.
And on your behalf, how does all this play upon your work and yourself? Is it like a feeling of giving up, or is it more like like an energy to keep on going?
I don't, somebody once asked me, how did I decide, when did I decide to be an artist? And I don't think it's something you decide, really. It's something which you're sort of just driven towards, for whatever reason. You've never lost that sort of childhood ability to play. And that's, I think that is one of the main sort of driving forces in a way. So it's not you don't it's the rest of society decides whether you're an artist or not. I don't think you decide yourself.
I totally agree. It simply happens, and you flow upon it. It sort of it chooses you rather than otherwise.
That's right. And also what I find interesting is that in terms of communication, that if we take sort of verbal language, which we're engaging with at present, or musical language, then it's linear. One thing follows on from the other. Whereas pictorial language is circular, it's instantaneous, and it's universal as well. And that's why I sort of like about dealing with sort of image making, painting.
And what's happening with painting in the UK, in Europe?
Well, I mean it's I mean the sort of arena, the sort of area in which I engage, which is almost one could almost sort of say, abstracted figuration, is very much on the bottom of the heap. It's not it's I mean it's very much I mean at the moment what is more popular is if you're dealing with issues, whether it's to do with climate change or gender or whatever. Um, and yeah, I mean being a sort of a white male, then again I'm at the very bottom of the heap. There's a saying like I'm white, male, and pale and stale. So it's that's just the way it is. But in a way, all those elements, all those factors, they don't bother me at all because there's nothing going to stop me. Like I've been working in the studio this morning, and I get energized, I get innovated, I get it's exciting, So I that's what keeps me going.
And also, like on the other side, we just witnessed the lifespan, the end of the life of Auerbach, or we still see the
Mm,
how Kiefer or Richter are
yeah,
very
yes,
important in the art scene today and very recognized. And so it's like not linear, no? It can be sort of like everything is happening at the same time, no? There's like this.
yes, oh yes, 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 yes. I mean, unfortunately, I find today that I can spend almost as much time on the computer as I do in the studio. Because because of the technology, etc. As you say, everything is happening, and you're inundated. But what also I find quite sort of fascinating is how, I mean, I get offered or emailed, sort of messages, etc. Do I want to show in New York? Do I want to show in Switzerland? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? Do I want to go into this competition? All of it costs money. All of it's about my spending my money in order, to do that. I mean, I sort of, I suppose I was first engaged, sort of with the art world, sort of back in the early 1970s. And today in 2025, it's, 50 plus years later, it's a very, very different world, very different world.
How do you remember those good old days? Like, how was it?
Well, there were, well, these days, I'm really, sort of I have rare desire to go and see a lot of the exhibitions which I see advertised. Whereas back then, I would, there were exhibitions that I really had to see because they were good, they were interesting, and they were influential. Whereas today, there's, so much, well, rubbish basically, sort of on show. And yeah, there's not that many, exhibitions which I feel, obliged or, encouraged to go and view really by comparison. There were fewer galleries around. I mean, obviously you didn't have online sales. You didn't have NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And it's, I mean, again, back then, I more or less would have known or be conscious of every gallery in London, which is where I live. Every sort of interesting or gallery. Whereas the other day, I went to the Battersea Art Fair. There were 100 plus galleries on show, many of which I'd never heard of.
And regarding like in those days, I guess it was important to learn how to draw, how to paint, the work, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, that is another thing whereby, again, I mean, if you take the sort of the art school situation, it is rather than sort of providing a studio for students with all the equipment and the materials and life models or whatever, is a lot cheaper to provide them with a little compartment with a computer so they can do it all online. That sort of traditional skills of learning how to draw, using drawing as a communication skill. I think that's fallen by the wayside with many people.
No, it's very sort of like disturbing in a way to
Hmm,
to be listening to you as if I was listening to myself
right. Yeah.
regarding the scene, regarding art school formation, regarding what's happening all around. I mean, I mean, how come it's happening the same thing in two different countries and two people that mm, work differently, although we love painting, we love drawing.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
how come we sound the same? I mean, we think the same and we're
Big.
watching the same thing.
I mean, to me, the fault line really lies within the advent of globalization, which is a capitalist commercial element, whereby, prior there was like individual. If you looked at Japanese art, you looked at, South American art, you looked at, there were differences, sort of cultural differences. Whereas today it's all globalized. It's also like some mishmash. It's all the same. So I think that's, that has been, and that's brought sort of the financial aspect into the art market, in much more. I mean, I was told recently by a gallery owner, was had a conversation with how, with a lot of the new galleries, whereby, um, if you're investing money, if you buy into stocks and shares, which is like a gamble, then your investment can go up or it can go down. You could lose money or you could make money. And some of these new galleries, they offer, their products, their, whatever it is they're selling to their clients with the guarantee that it will increase in value in 5 or 6 years. And if it doesn't, then they'll buy the work back. So it's a bit like people are investing in stocks and shares in the same sort of way. They're gambling on the product that it's going to make them money. So they're not, I mean, there are different. I mean, if you think about people who buy art, there are people who are doing it for investment purposes, and there are other people who buy it because it says something to them. Yeah, it sort of it affects them. It communicates to them. It's something that they can live with. And I must admit, nobody buys what I produce for investment. You know, they buy it because they want it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen your work. I've seen Peter Clossick's work for quite a long time, and I mean, thanks to technology, and I've admired it for quite some time. And I've also seen it in a sort of like a local collective that's where I think you were born or where you developed your work. Is that kind of a collective community thing still going on in your?
Yes, I mean I'm a member of several societies. I mean locally where I live, it's called the Blackheath Art Society, started in 1930. I was president and still a member of the London group, started in 1913. I'm also recently invited in Plymouth, which is in Cornwall, in the southeast of the country. There's another society which I'm a member. I show there. And I think the being part of these groups, I mean, in the London group, there's 100+ people. So being part of these groups in a way, when you exhibit with them, it gives you a measure about where you are, where you're standing, etc., in relation to other people. Also, because you're all, in it together, you communicate with other people as well. So you don't feel quite so isolated. So it's a bit like when you're at art school, there's all the other students there, etc., all doing the same thing, all trying to, make themselves make a name or whatever. And then when you leave art school, it's total isolation. It's like, so so being part of these groups is, is quite, it's quite sort of useful because you can have conversation with people, etc., and so on.
They accept like all ages, or it's rather like
Oh yes, all ages. I mean the groups I belong to are different. I mean, for instance, the London group is much more, if you like, contemporary, and that has been because I was president of that back in 2000, 2005. But in 20 years, it's changed its shape enormously. Whereas when I joined, it was mainly sort of painting, sculpture. Now it's got a lot more video, installation, performance, as well as painting, sculpture. Whereas the New English Art Club, which shows is much more traditional, that's, they're all figurative painters. They're all, about 90 members. They're all figurative painters. So, they're different. The groups I belong to are quite different.
you think there's like a chance to turn things around, like to switch them, to move them to another kind of dynamic?
I mean, it is, I think, being involved in in the art world is a lot more difficult now, than it was previously. And yeah, I mean, I think because things have, the boundaries have moved so much, that they've sort of, and if you are, as you are, sort of really involved with the tradition of drawing, visual observation, etc., etc., then it is very, very difficult. I think it is difficult. But my attitude as well, though, is that things will turn around because if you take the advent, I mean, what's happening now with artificial intelligence, AI, then there will be a lot of jobs which the AI can do, and will put people out of work. But sort of physical making, whether you're a plumber or an electrician or a bricklayer or, artist, sort of making something physically will become much more rare and much more wanted.
Yes, and I mean, I'm not into conspiracy theories, or I'm not a conspiracy,
Mm.
but I mean, from listening to you, I mean, one can imagine like a master plan trying to move aside or erase all these human activities and all these values or all this
Yes.
sense of life, even like a sketch or a drawing or a painting or
Mm.
a sculpture or pottery, ceramics, I mean, art itself or thought or feeling or I mean everything that belongs to to humanity in its nature, no? There's always this force
Mm.
trying to put it aside, to quiet it down, to sort of like kill it. However, that's not
Yes. Yeah.
possible, no? So at the end of the day, even with all this harsh situation, I mean, it's wonderful to keep on doing it, no? To keep on painting.
Absolutely. Because what better opportunity than to be a rarity?
All right. That's a new concept and term on which I can subscribe.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.